collaborating with Bradley, and what do you like most about the film?
You know, brands come along sometimes and they want me to be part of it. And this was one of the ones that I was really excited about because first off, we've had a great relationship so far. But I think the heritage, the history behind Breitling, I think is very special. You know, it's a brand that has always done things in the right way and has always done things in the classy way. But, you know, it's not just about the way, you know, the timepieces look, it's about how they work. And I mean, it's incredible. So for me, you know, I'm very proud to be part of, you know, a company that has great heritage, great history, but also makes things in exactly the right way and with great style.
Okay, and do you know that saying that it's like time is gold?
Yeah.
So do you agree with this? And what is the most thing that you love spending your time with?
Well, of course, you know, my children and my family, for me, that's the most special time that I get to spend really in my day. Because obviously I've always travelled a lot, especially when I was playing. So to actually get some time with the family, I think that's the most special time for me. And I never like to be late for things, so you know, time is golden, you're right.
And are you punctual as good English that you know that you have fame like that you are punctual? Do
Yeah.
you think you are?
I always think that's so important. You know, you can't always be on time, but I always try to be because I think it's rude and it's something that I've always tried to be, and yeah, I get by.
And people say that a watch like is very representative of a man. No? Like his watch is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this? Do you think that the watch is?
I totally agree. You know, I've always liked a nice watch, and obviously, one of my first watches actually was a Breitling. So it's strange, you know, 20 years later that I'm part of the company that actually was one of my first watches. So it's one of the things that I actually bought for the first time with my first wage from Manchester United at the time. So it's special in many ways, but I do think it's like a pair of shoes for a man or a pair of shoes for a woman. You know, it kind of represents the person, and I think watches are like that for people in general, not just men.
So I'm talking about time. What in your family? Who is the person of your family that spends more time like dressing up, and your wife, maybe your son?
No,
so.
It would have always been my wife. My children get ready and they're ready in 5 minutes. But now my daughter is giving my wife a little run for her money. But she's very organised. My wife, not so much, but my daughter, she'll, you know, before she goes to bed at night, she gets her clothes ready, gets her dress ready, or shoes, and but she does change her mind when she wakes up in the morning. So it's a process. It's a process, but without doubt, I'd say my wife takes more time.
Do you, in your life, imagine that sometimes you will become like a fashion idol, like you have become?
No, you know, I'm surprised by many things that I get called, mostly nice ones. But obviously, the things that have happened to me over my career, you know, all I ever wanted to be when I was a young kid was a footballer. I never wanted to be famous. I never wanted anything else but to become a professional footballer. And luckily, you know, the success that I've had on the field has given me other things, and you know, being compared to certain fashion idols, it makes me smile, it makes me proud, and I feel very lucky.
And what do you think is more difficult, or where is most harder critics in football, when you play football, or now that you are in the world of fashion?
I don't know. I'd have to say probably the fashion world.
Yeah.
I think I noticed that more than anything, just because obviously my wife is kind of in the fashion world, and you know, she's very well respected there now. But I suppose also the sports world, the football world, you know, there can be some harsh critics, and I've had a few over the years. But you know, it's what I do. It's what I've done for many years. It's what I love doing. So it doesn't really affect me in the way I'm sure it would in other ways.
Yeah. And how it feels like you and your wife being one of the most influential couples in the world, like Angelina Jolie and.
I mean, I never think about it. You know, we're a very normal family. You know, we bring our children up in a normal way. You know, it's important for us to give our children, you know, an upbringing that is normal, because, like you say, some people don't look at us like that. So it's important for us to have a normal family life for our children, as normal as we can give them, and let them enjoy life like every other child does.
Okay, so thank you very much.
You're welcome. Pleasure.